So we got a story that John has, and this is something that hits close home to me because I believe in this concept of third parties. I believe in the idea of reforming the system. So, John, you got a story for the people. What is going on?
So, am I like buffering on your end?
You're good.
No, you're good.
Okay. All
You're
right.
good, man.
I mean, you could be, but you aren't.
So it's less of a story and more of just something that I kind of wanted to like maybe do an end of the week segment on. Something that we could all start talking about together. You know, all the members of Harlan's Media, as well as people in the Discord, people in chat, start getting feedback and start figuring out where we want to go with this. We've been saying a lot. It's time to start acting. It's time to start doing things. We need to act. We need to move. Now's the time to get active. We don't think Biden's a good choice. We don't think, we're mad at Bernie. Whatever, like wherever your emotions are, there's been a lot of clamoring for third parties. And so what I wanted to do was start trying to explore with you guys exactly what we want. Exactly what we want, where we're going to put our foot down and how we're going to get there. I've seen a lot of people talking about the movement for a People's Party, right? Jimmy's been talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
He's had Nick Branya. He had him on his show like 2 years ago when it was Draft Bernie, and then they just formed the Movement for a People's Party. But now, while all this is being talked about, now's the time. So I went and looked at the Movement for People's Party website, and there it is, the platform right there. There's a lot of it. There's a lot of things that they want, but I thought the Economic Bill of Rights. I thought we'd just talk about that for a second, and we'd look into this, and then over time, what I want to do is, with Jerome, Kit, and Daniel, is start to explore, things about the Green Party. What do we like? What do we not like? Where are we at? What are the things that we can all agree to take away and be like, this is what we want? And also at the same time, instead of saying, okay, guys, go out and look it up yourself. Some people aren't going to do that. Some of our viewers aren't going to do that. So let's bring it to them. Let's inform them and do the homework for them and start exploring these parties and what's going on. So I'm going to go ahead with the Movement for the peoplesparty.org website. I'm going to go straight to their Economic Bill of Rights, and I'm going to read some of it. There's a little bit of a blurb at the beginning that it's just, the history of it all, Franklin Delano Roosevelt and all that stuff. But I think what's good is this part right here. Recognize that the nature of work will forever change as automation extends from agricultural and manufacturing into service jobs and creative tasks. Improving technology allows us to provide an abundance of goods with even fewer resources and human labor. Automation and artificial intelligence are advancing so rapidly that studies predict that half of the American jobs will be automated in the next 15 years. The resulting social transformation will be so profound that it's referred to as the fourth industrial revolution. We must ensure that people are provided for in society where machines replace the entire industries and millions of jobs. All right. I think that's, that should be the forefront of things that we consider and we talk about when we're talking about these third parties.
Okay. So here's the thing, because I can remember way back after the 2016 general election cycle, I was all on board, yes, we need to have third parties. We need to start planning this organization now, but I think I hate saying this, people, don't expect a third party to right now gain a lot of momentum because, again, a lot of people just right now lost a lot of support, a lot of momentum when Bernie Sanders endorsed Joe Biden. I think we got to be prepared for the next election cycle. If anything, if there was a third party to try and at least regain some kind of momentum or some kind of further following, what we have to remember is that there's a system put in place that denies people, that denies third parties from being on the ballot, from being on the debate stage, and we need to drastically reform the system. That's what we have to do.
I'm going to hijack for a second because I'm glad you said that. Carol Earl, I'm going to mispronounce her name, the political director for the Movement for People's Party, has this nice little blurb in her bio, and it says, "They ran their heads very hard against wrong ideas and persisted in trying to fit the circumstances to the ideas instead of trying to extract ideas from the circumstances." Which, feeding off what you just said about everybody's being demoralized about Bernie and what happened, and nobody's going to want to really do anything because they feel hamstrung. Well, that's a good time for us to talk about not playing inside the rules anymore.
So I think
nobody else is.
In a big degree, I don't think that any existing third party has a chance of winning for a number. So like we've worked a pretty decent amount with Green Party, Libertarian Party, and a few others. Yeah. And one of the issues I have with the Green Party, at least from what I saw attending a number of their events, their bylaws meetings, is they're focused more on protecting themselves than growing. And I think a big thing that I noticed, because we did a lot of coverage, is that the brand name of the Green Party is such a joke to so many people, rightly or wrongly.
Yeah.
If they changed their name, I think they'd get like 10%, 50% more votes just by itself. And a lot of what they, when we were at a bylaw meeting, that's kind of when it really hit me when I heard them talking about it. Like, they're so terrified to let new people in. So there were a lot of younger people that were at that meeting that were part of more, like, I forget there was like it was some urban coalition of some part that wanted to have a lot more influence and do a lot more work and do petitioning and fight for a different version of policies than what the Green Party currently had. And they were basically told, no, we're not going to open up anything because we're worried that we're going to get taken over. That seems to be, in my experience, the number one priority of the Green Party is to not be taken over by the Democratic Party.
Okay, can I just kind of I just want to chime in here because so I'm in that position right now where, again, you guys know I am not the most political, but I got involved because I learned about Bernie. I liked what he had to say. And now I'm at a point again for the second time, right, where I'm just like, okay, now I don't know what to do. So I appreciate John bringing this up. This is a good way for someone like me who doesn't know where to go at this point, and it gives me an option to be like, okay, so what do I? So here's how I feel too, right? Because I think I've said this before, but I'm not going to vote for Biden, right? Like, he is not my choice. I don't align with his values, so I can't vote for someone like him. I'm not concerned about. For me, at least in my opinion, the way I think about it, I want to vote for someone that I actually stand behind, whether he loses or not. That's why I didn't want Bernie to quit, because even if he had no chance, like, go down swinging. Yeah. Because that's why I was behind you. Like, I understand that it's important that people win to get things done. I get that. But how can we do more to get that to happen? How can we, again, like I said, this is why I appreciate it. So here's
what can happen in a hypothetical scenario. Maybe when people see that, of course, there's Donald Trump, he is who he is, but as soon as people start seeing Joe Biden act up and either that gets slaughtered during debates, perhaps that's enough to get people motivated and really having a conversation about creating a real third party that might, get 5% in this vote. Because again, in reality, the true victory for maybe a Green Party or the Libertarian Party to get out of this 2020 election cycle is the impossible task of getting 5% in the general election or above. It's not
going to matter.
Yeah, I know, but here's the issue. I mean, then we can start seeing more of a movement. Then we can start seeing more of a conversation. But the plan is to start planning for 2024. Start building that infrastructure now. The two existing parties, the Greens and the Libertarians, I don't think in reality can continue to push forward because they have so many flaws that can really hurt them in the long run. Now, of course, I'm going to vote third party, but looking at the bigger picture and how both those organizations have basically crapped the bed for so long, we got to start talking about a new third party, and perhaps the people's movement for a third party can actually do that. John,
let me say one thing before John gets in real quick on this. In a sense, the only way a third party wins is if it's already won before it starts fighting. And that basically means a true dem exit. That means that, like, if we're in a situation right now when this election happens where 50% of Bernie supporters don't vote, they literally hold their votes back in this, that's enough people to sort of do it, but no one's going to go, oh, let's join the Green Party. Let's join the Libertarians. They're going to start a new party because why would they have the infrastructure of a party that's not going anywhere? It's like third parties are so screwed in America, and the entire system is based to have two parties control everything.
Yeah.
It only works if a Democrat or Republican party falls.
Yeah. John.
Okay, so a couple things. 40% of America doesn't vote. Do you think that's because they're too lazy to go to the voting booth? Do you think that's because the Kardashians was on that night and they really didn't want to miss it?
No.
Or do you think that's because there's just not something that speaks to them? Do you think that the reason why all the young voters showed up for Bernie by the metrics more than anybody else was because he had something to offer them? All right. So that being said, the exit's already there. The exit's happened. It's been happened for as long as I can remember. Independents are the exit. They exist. It's already happened.
Right. I agree with you on that point. It's just what needs to be done, like the real planning for an infrastructure, a real third party that maybe something that's Bernie Sanders like centric, where people can really bring in independents and progressives to really bring in a new coalition. But it's got to start now. But I think the two existing ones, the Greens and Libertarians, going forward, unless they drastically change themselves, I don't see them really carrying that torch further.
And I have a plan for that, or a thought at least. I have a proposal.
Let's hear it.
How many subscribers does Hardlands Media have?
To the top of my head, 23,500.
23,000. How many Patreon supporters do you have? People willing to give money to keep your voice going?
Oh, I'm going to pull up our live numbers right now.
I think 207.
So,
yeah.
So let's, in future shows, is what I'd like to do with your guys' approval, is let's start exploring what we at Hard Lens and our viewership expect from these third parties.
Okay.
Let's say, what are you going to do to get my 20,000 viewers to plug into you? That's a big chunk for a third party. And you can leverage that power. You can create, just like TYT did, your little the TYT pledge. You can do that right now. We can figure out what are the things we want to hammer in, and make them come to us, or say like, hey, if you're going to come on our show and you're going to do an interview with us, expect these questions to be levied at you. And I think that's something that the channel can do moving forward to try and push us more towards this third party, try and activate a base.
Yeah. So on that note, I'm happy to bring in as many third party people as I can. And in a sense, my issue with third parties is almost the exact inverse of my issue with the two main parties. With the two main parties, it's your key structure is such that you don't care about regular people, you care about big businesses. My question I don't ask those two, that the two main parties, is how do you build and maintain power? They already have that figured out. With third parties, for the most part, I love even like Libertarians, I like their stances a lot more than a lot of either the Democrat or Republican Party. But obviously I really do like the Green Party. I love all the stuff that they put out, and I voted for Jill Stein in the last election. But my issue with third parties is how you're going to build and maintain power. Because a lot of times what happens with the Greens is when a certain Green gets too successful, they flip and they get recruited by the Democrats. They basically get poached by the Democrats, and the reverse. Right. And the exact same thing happens with Republicans and Libertarians. But again, that's the point I was originally making, that I think that because we're only going to have two parties, the way that we have the country set up right now, me and Kit would both like a parliamentary system where we have more than one party. But right now, because we have two parties, everything's set for a winner-take-all system. So I look at it like, I think that there is a sort of an inevitability that the Democratic Party collapses because enough people leave it. I think that's reasonable. I think that's possible. I think that even is somewhat likely. But what I sort of also see is that for like Jimmy even said this in this kind of way too, that for a third party to work, you have to have a huge amount of people from a main party defect and do that. And right now, there's absolutely no incentive for them to do that.
Yeah.
And
Could you imagine?
It's just,
But could you imagine if there was just if someone with a little bit more infrastructure just planted a flag and said, "My party starts today. I'm calling it Plum Crazy Purple," and by the way, my platform is 100% Bernie Sanders' platform. Just that's it. And this is the guy who's going to talk about it. You know, whoever, Fred Edward from chat, was going to talk about it.
It's a good representative.
All right, Fred Edward.
Exactly.
All right. I'm already convinced.
But
like, here's the thing. I'm already.
Like I said, the
I'm already
exit's already happened.
Yeah,
and it's not winner take all. I'm sorry, it's not winner take all, because the Democrats are happy to lose because they still get the money, they still get those donors, they still get the facade of being active. So it's not winner takes all because the loser still gets stuff. It's just we need to help the third parties get more people involved in the third party.
I think right now, if we're going to have a serious conversation about third parties really truly making an impact, then my direct challenge to the Greens and Libertarians, even though it's going to be the impossible task, and that is gaining enough momentum to getting that 5% in a general election, so to recognize as a fully federal funded party. But again, the ongoing problem is like a lot of third parties, the sad history of third parties in this country, and this is something that no one talks about, is how they're easily co-opted. Because at one point, the Republicans were a third party until they replaced the Whigs. So the whole issue is we got to change the way we run elections in this country. And yes, I think we need to keep on covering third parties. I think we need to bring their attention, more attention to them. But I think the long term, and this is just my point of view, my perspective, the time to really start creating that infrastructure, that power structure for a third party to challenge the Democrats and Republicans and actually gain support of the people is to start planning now so we're ready in 2024. I know it's an impossible task. It's a monumental task, and there's a whole system put in place to really stop third parties. But I think it can be done. It just really requires, at the end of the day, motivation from the people to step up and get involved. And I think it can be done with networks like ourselves.
But it's wishful thinking.
I know it's wishful thinking, but if we don't try now,
no. But like, even to your point with like, why are people not voting? They like Bernie Sanders. Well, they didn't come out to vote this time. I think there's other parts of it. There's other parts of it that we're not factoring in. And I think the biggest one is people are cynical about the system. They don't believe in it in the first place because they've been screwed so many times. And I think another one is no one expects that if they put in their effort that they're ever going to get a payoff. So even if, like I said, I'm going to vote for third party, I'm probably going to vote for a Green candidate if I don't find someone else, just like I did last time. But I don't expect that to mean anything. I don't expect them to hit 5%. I'm still going to follow my own set of values. I think the bigger problem is there are so many people in the country that have either given up, don't have the effort, don't want to put in the time, or don't have the money. We can't just say like, oh, we'll just hard lens. It's 23,000 people. We'll just put in the infrastructure together to win. And it's like we won't, not at this size. We have to get bigger first to even get to a point where we can do that. But like, here's a good example. Like, this actually goes to a video that I remember we all saw at some point. I don't think you saw this one, John. It was about this guy who was this communist writer, and he was talking about how Bernie Sanders has done more to help the revolution, even though he didn't even consider him a social democrat. He considered him like a super left Democrat or a democratic socialist. And like the infrastructure that exists, that's much bigger than the Greens or Libertarians will ever be. Our Revolution, DSA, those are already bigger, but they're working within the party. So it's like, my thing is like, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know if there is an answer, if there's something we can do. I don't know if it's going to happen inevitably. I don't know if
Our Revolution and the People's Party, that's Draft Bernie. That's the Draft Bernie guys. You know that, right?
I understand, but I don't think that they have the strength quite yet. I don't know.
Help them get it.
I mean, I will. Here's the thing. I will help them do that. I just don't have personal hope, but I will do the things that I think are right, which are still the same things that you guys are talking about.
Right. And again, like here's the thing too. Yes, let's help. But I mean, it's like organizations like DSA, Our Revolution, they have what it takes. I mean, my own personal theory, I think DSA maybe in 20 years or so could become a true viable party and true political force in this country. It's just going to take time because people in this country, we all have our opinions. And right now we're all dealing with this economic disaster. It's going to take time to build this kind of organization. It's going to take time to build this kind of resistance. It can be done. It's just, I would say it's the long road. And that's something that's really going to turn people away, and it's going to take a lot of work. But if we want to change this system, it's going to take a lot of work. It could have been done with Bernie if maybe he was more aggressive. It could have been done with Bernie if he was just more on point, if he just decided to have a bigger ego, but he didn't. So now we have to take this a little bit longer road, this difficult path. But to John's point, yeah, you're right. And to Daniel's point, yeah, I think we're trying to get to the same pathway. It's just going to take time. And with Hard Lens Media too, as we grow, we can continue covering third parties and alternate voices against the two-party establishment. It's just, I hate saying this, folks, it will take time. And I do believe in a parliamentary system, but there's a lot of battles that we have to get through in order to get to that final victory, to where we can actually truly have a democracy that's going to represent us with ranked choice voting, where there's no money in politics. It's an idealist. It's very idealistic to talk about this, but it's going to take a lot of groundwork and a lot of sacrifice from a lot of Americans to get involved.
I also want to talk about the beer fountains and the unicorn ride. No, I'm being I know I'm being facetious on this.
I will shut up after this and yield the floor. But I think there's more of a push and a readiness right now for a third party, for an actual viable third party, than people like Sam Cedar and Nomiki Khan's care to admit. And it's right in front of us. And nobody's pulling the strings together. In 2017, after Hillary Clinton lost and cheated Bernie Sanders, the AFL-CIO came out and said, nah, we're done with the Democratic Party. We're looking for a viable third party. They put it on their website, the front page of their website, that they were ready for a third party. That's unions.
Yeah.
That's the strength of the Democratic Party right there. Everywhere you look, people are ready. The exit's already happened. They just feel shackled by the same nonsense narratives. What I would like to do is, at the very least, let's go ahead and I'll try and do a better job next week. I kind of dived right in with this People's Party and got on a little bit over my head, and I apologize to the viewers and I apologize to you guys for that. But I want to start educating people
that's fine,
on third parties. Yeah. And I want, like, if anything else, I want our viewership to be able to be like, okay, well, that party sounds like that's the one for me. And I want to facilitate the STEM exit.
That's perfectly fine, because I think with the way me and Daniel are coming off in this, because we started in 2017 and we were covering a lot of third parties, and I think for me personally, I had a very much more higher point of view of third parties, but seeing the long-term horrible political infrastructure that we have in this country, it's going to be a monumental task. And of course, I have my point of view. I think, yes, this is possible. It's just a long-term strategy. And I say we cover third parties. I say we actually bring them, have as much attention to as possible. It's just at the same time, too, I'm looking back at what me and Daniel did in the groundwork in the early days of Hard Lens Media when we were on radio and public access. We saw how Greens and Libertarians were horribly structured, and it's a tough thing.
Then call them out. Call them out on a syndicated show. Yeah. Call them out on a broadcast to 20,000 people. Be like, this is why you suck. Fix it.
Yeah.
Use your voice.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So then that's what we're going to do. So I'm actually looking forward to talking to more third-party candidates. I'm looking forward to talking to the Greens. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking to the Greens and the Libertarians, DSA, Socialist Alternative Party, and People's Movement Party, so that we can actually bring their voice and bring voice to the voiceless. That's why Hard Lens Media got started in the first place. And I think in the long run, it's a chance for us to have a conversation and start building that true infrastructure, so we can have a multi-party parliamentary system and real democracy. All right, but it's going to be a fight, and the time to start doing it is now. So let's make it happen, and that's what we're going to do here at Hard Lens Media. So, John, for next Friday, I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to seeing who we're going to be talking about, and also invite the third-party candidates who are running. Reach out to Hard Lens Media. We'll have you on the show. It's not the first time we had Greens and Libertarians on. Just respond back to my emails. Don't have me waiting.
Somebody send this clip to Nick Brania when it gets clipped.
Okay, no problem.
No, I mean, somebody in the chat, everybody in the chat, send this to Nick Brania. Let's get him on here.
All right, let's make
again, the questions I'm going to ask are going to be very much how are you going to gain power, because a political party is really a system of other power structures working together to get something done. And right now, the Green Party doesn't have any systems of power working for it.
Yeah.
But again, things can change. I'm just very pessimistic, but I'm happy to be proven wrong. I would love to be proven wrong.
Right. So yeah, and that's just our experience with this. In the early days of Heartlands Media, it wasn't easy.